Hi there guys, we're back with another randomised, solo run video, and this week we are going with Wobbuffet in Johto. And this one's going to hurt. There's no doubt, there's no bones about it. A Wobbuffet solo run is not going to be an easy feat. And that comes down to really quite a few things. So yeah, Wobbuffet is a very tanky Pokemon, but it doesn't have the greatest moves. It starts off with Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard and Destiny Bond, one of which is completely useless to us because we need to die in order to actually make it useful, and that's Destiny Bond. But we do have Counter, we do have Mirror Coat, so we can reflect any damage coming towards us, and we do have amazing bulk to be able to do that and tank hits. As you can see here with the Pidgey, it's not doing much damage. We can use Counter to do damage back to it, double the amount that's being dealt to us. But generally, it's not really a great Pokemon, and it's not suited for solo runs. We do have that massive 190 HP stats, which creates the bulk of Wobbuffet, and we can win quite a lot of early game battles because of that bulk. But that moveset is going to become a massive problem as we move further into the game. Falconer and his gym in itself, they really are just physical attackers, so we're not going to have a massive amount of difficulty with them. And strangely, even in this early stage, Struggle became a viable strategy for us to use. And it's not the prettiest strategy, but it does work. And going into the later game as well, Struggle becomes one of the strategies that actually becomes the most viable for Wobbuffet to use on a solo run, because it'll eventually deal more damage out and more consistent damage than using Counter or Mirror Coat, because the drawback with using both of those moves, you have to kind of guess what type of move the opponent's going to use. Are they going to use a physical? Are they going to use a special move? And if you get it wrong, then you've just wasted a turn. It's annoying, but this is how we're going to have to go with Wobbuffet, and this is not going to be a quick run in any standpoint really. The rival in Azalea as well is going to be a real problem, because Pokemon in Gen 2, they love to spam status effects, as I've mentioned in loads of these Johto runs. They love to spam status effects, and I do not use any healing items within battle, or use any status healing items in battle as well. So if you look in the description of this video, you'll see a list of the rules that we do for these solo runs. I can't be bothered repeating them at the start of every single video, but that is one of our main rules, that we can't heal in battle or heal our status. So if we get paralysed, we have to go with it for the rest of the fight. And the rival in Azalea is a bit of a problem because we get put to sleep quite a lot, and it doesn't seem worth to try again at this level. So we went off to go against Bugsy, and strangely enough, we had a better time against Bugsy. His Metapod uses a lot of tackle, so we can then use Counter to take down its damage. Even though it's not doing very much to us, we're dealing out more with Counter than he's dealing to us. And yeah, the Metapod goes down pretty easily, and it brings us onto the Cypher. Now, considering Fury Cover is a super effective move, it's a physical move, which means Counter is going to do even more damage every single turn. And because of that accumulated damage, Counter does even more, does twice as much as you deal out. And it makes the rest of the fight quite easy. So this was actually a first time victory against Bugsy, with a Pokemon that is weak to his moves. So it was an interesting start to the run really with this. But going against that rival with the Ghastly to start off with, that was the big problem with that battle. Because he starts off with like using Hypnosis, he's got Lick as well that paralyzes if need be. We had to be level 20 to even take it out in 2 hits. We do get paralysed here, which is not good. But because we're using struggle strats here, he's wasting his turns by using Spite. Annoyingly, we get the Para Confuse from the Zubat as well, because it uses Supersonic on us. But we take it out in 2 hits, and we've got enough HP to then go against the Quilava. We're also paralysed, which is actually better for us in this battle, because it means that we then can't get burnt. If we got burnt, then our struggles wouldn't do anywhere near as much damage. We do get a clutch critical hit there, hang on with one more struggle, and we managed to beat him with 8 HP left. Now in this run, because I was having so much of a problem with the early game, we do go against a lot of optional trainers. And coming against Whitney, we actually do manage to get a first time victory against her here. but we had to be level 25 after all of the optional battles that we've gone against. We even went up past Goldenrod to the National Park, went against the trainers there, and then came back to try Whitney. Strangely enough as well, in this fight, the Clefairy became more of a problem than the Miltank did. Double Slap doesn't do that much damage, so it did take a while to take it down. And we're on 43 HP going into the Miltank. Now the Miltank, you would have thought would be because it uses rollout, it's going to be a problem, but because it accumulates damage over multiple hits, it's the same situation as going against Bugsy with Fury Cutter. The more damage it did, the more we could deal back. Morty, on the other hand, was going to be a real struggle for this run. Because he uses Curse, we're then fighting against time, and I really struggled to find an attempt where he didn't actually land a Curse. But because and that becomes the biggest drawback for this fight with a Wobbuffet. You're having to always attack last. And he's got super effective moves against us with Shadow Ball as well. So we had to go away, we had to train, and then we had to come back and fight him at a higher level. What level it is though, it's definitely one of the highest ones we've had to do for Morty at this stage. We had to come back at level 36, and as well, because I literally fought every trainer at this point, the only way I could get through this battle was to actually switch out my Pokemon when Curse had hit me, so that it gets rid of the Curse and I can continue on with the battle. It then became very annoying with this Gengar because Hypnosis, even though it's only got 60 accuracy, it seemed to hit every single time. And then he uses Dream Eater to get his HP back. It became a real back and forth slog and not a fun fight in any regard. Like, it's such a trolly moveset, it's such a trolly Pokemon. If he'd used Shadow Ball a lot more, we would have lost this a lot easier, but we do finally get one turn where we don't get put to sleep. He uses Shadow Ball, and we got 37 HP going into the last Haunter. It's going to take at least 2 struggles to take it out. We managed to hang on at level 36 the first time we actually managed to beat Morty. And that brings us on to the next gym leader. So the next gym leader is going to be Chuck. We are a Psychic type, so we do resist Fighting type moves, but his Poliwrath uses both physical and special moves. So we're going to have to try and guess what move he's going to use and then counter it effectively. Or Mirror Coat it effectively. The reason why we ended up going for Mirror Coat against the Poliwrath though, when you'll see it coming up in a minute, because we're a Psychic type Pokemon, Dynamic Punch is a Fighting type, the AI recognises that as a disadvantage, so it's going to go for Surf because it's going to deal more damage. His Hypnosis is missed, so I've set up a safeguard to push him into only using Surf. And when he's using Surf, 2 Mirror Coats is enough to take down that Poliwrath. So it didn't turn out too badly. Our moveset, in hindsight, can give you a lot of things to work with. Safeguard makes sure that we don't get paralysed or confused, and that's going to be very prevalent in this battle against Jasmine, because her Magnemites love using Thunder Wave and Supersonic, and they seem to hit a lot more than their accuracy suggests. But once we've taken them down with Mirror Coat, we're going to use Counter against the Steelix, and it's going to take a few hits to take it out. Now here's an interesting thing, you see she uses a potion here, and then I use Counter again, so she hasn't actually attacked me there, but Counter still worked. And that seems to be a bug that a few YouTubers have found with this fight. Why it happens is beyond me, but for some reason it's still... I love it when he uses Hyper Beam on the random guy. It just seems to be a little bug that was left into the game. In more modern Pokemon, that doesn't happen, so it's very unusual. And I'm very fortunate that I managed to see it on this run. The Rocket Hideout was next before we can even go against Price. And I hate this section of the game. I've said this every single Johto run. It's such a tedious part of the game. The level curve is so out of balance. It adds an hour to your game time as well, which is just very annoying. Like, if this section wasn't in the game, you would be managing to finish these runs maybe in less than 3 hours if we were doing the Sneasel run. But once we completed it, we can then go to the Underground in Goldenrod. We can fight against a rival. But first, before that, we need to go against Price. Now, Price became one of the hardest gym leaders to do this run on for one reason. And that came down to his Dugong and the fact that he uses Rest. In this fight, no matter what happened, we couldn't do enough damage via Struggle, to then take down the dugong after it used rest. And every single time it used rest, it would wake up in 3 turns and then it would use rest again. So it became very, very annoying. As you can see here, we've got it down to red HP and then it's just straight away used rest and we're back where we started. And this went on for so long. It became a really, really tedious battle. And I tried this again using counter mirror move safeguard and it still didn't make much difference. On the winning attempt that we actually did, it just came down to pure luck. We started for some reason getting high roll damages and we took it out while it was still asleep. But that's not in this attempt. It is this attempt, sorry. Yeah, we just got a random high roll and managed to take it out. The Palace Wine is not a problem whatsoever. It does use a high proportion, but we've got enough HP to then keep using Struggle and take it down. Even the Blizzard's not doing that much against us, and that's 7 gym badges. But let's move on to Goldenrod and let's see how we do against the rival. I'm not too sure how we're going to do against him because now at this stage he's got more and more Pokemon. And the more Pokemon that we go against in a struggle run pretty much becomes a real problem. But that's where Wobbuffet's massive HP comes into good effect. It can actually tank those hits. It can last out those battles a bit longer, give you more of a chance to get through them. The Golbat is very trolly. Yes, it's got Bite, but it also has Confuse Ray, which is 100% accurate. But we've managed to push through it and get it down on the struggle. Next up is the Sneasel, and this does have Feint Attack, which is super effective against us. You might be wondering why I'm not opting for likes of Counter and Mirror Coat. Again, it comes down to what I said earlier. Struggle is more reliable, even though you do take the recoil. Because you can't predict every single time what the opponent's going to use. It would have been useful if we had Safeguard here to set up after that Magnemite, because it's like Jasmine's. It likes to put you in paralysis. It likes to confuse you. And then we can move on to the Quilava. We've got more than enough HP to finish off this fight. We're paralyzed, so we can't be burnt, and we just need to hit one more struggle and take it down. So we ended up on 25 HP. We're only around about the level 50 mark and we've already got 300 odd HP. This is how good that HP stat works for us. The Rocket Executive as well, he's not going to be too much of a problem. His Houndour goes down with 1 struggle. Houndoom, it's probably going to take 2. It's a little bit bulkier than the previous evolution. It's going to take 3 in this instance, and it keeps using Feint Attack, which is super effective. Last up is the Coffin, and once we've beaten this Coffin, we can move on to Claire and complete the gym section of Johto. So you might be thinking, I'm making this look quite easy, but I'm missing out a lot of the optional battles and I'm missing out a lot of the failed attempts. We have a massive amount of failed attempts with Wobbuffet. It's just not a good Pokemon. If you're using it in a double battle or even in like a team battle, it is a lot stronger. It has a lot more viability, but in a solo run, Wobbuffet is really garbage. When we get through to Claire, Dragonairs are going to take a few struggles to take down. Usually it's 1 or 2 hits. Sorry, 2 or 3 hits, depending on whether we get a crit or not, which we don't get too often. Dragon Breath, we are paralyzed, and for some reason it seems to be the only move that her Dragonairs go for. Now we're taking down all the Dragonairs, it just leaves the Kingdra, and Surf is doing big damage and we're not doing anywhere near enough to keep up, so we are going to lose this attempt. I actually tried the battle a few levels higher, and also I went into it with counter and mirror move. What I didn't want to happen was to get paralyzed by the Thunder Wave. Once that safeguard was up, they only seemed to spam Dragon Breath, which was good because we couldn't be paralyzed by safeguard, and it took that element out of the battle. When the safeguard fades, you just put it back up, and she'll instantly try and go for Thunder Wave again. She is determined to get you paralyzed. But once safeguard is up, you can quite easily course through the battle. The Kingdra is still one of the more annoying Pokemon on this because she has Hyper Beam and Surf, sorry, not Hydro Pump. So you have to guess whether you should use counter or whether you should use mirror move. Because Surf for some reason does more damage, And I only realised after this whole run that the reason why they kept going for special moves is because I'd put more of my vitamins into my defence. So my defence was a lot higher, but the special defence was not anywhere near as high. So once we've beaten Claire, we can go and get the Dragon Fang and move on to Victory Road. So this battle was probably one of the hardest in this run as well. Starting off with the Sneasel, it's not the worst matchup to begin with. We are level 68 in this attempt, but 2 struggles is enough to take down that Sneasel. Golbat's next, and the worst thing that can happen here is we get confused, which we do straight away because this is Gen 2 and it loves to spam status effects. Once we finally take down this Golbat, it does get a few bites in. We do hit ourselves in confusion quite a bit. When we finally hit it, we've only lost around about 130 HP, and then the Magneton comes out, and of course it goes for Thunder Wave. And this is where the battle starts going downhill really. It's taken at least 3 hits to take out most Pokemon, even though we need twice their level. And the Haunter is next. If it goes for Curse, we might as well call this a day on this attempt. It goes for Shadow Ball, which isn't the worst thing, but we've still got 2 Pokemon left. One of them being Kadabra, who's going to set up a Future Sight. And that is going to be the move that really brings us down in the end. Typhlosion, it does quite a decent amount of damage with Flame Wheel and gets us down to low HP, Recoil hits, and then Future Sight hits. So the Kadabra in the end becomes the thing that takes us out. So we needed to level up, and the first attempt I actually got where we managed to do this, it became at level 78 of all levels. We had to go quite a considerable amount to be able to one-shot things, to get things down half HP, and get through most Pokemon losing as little HP as possible. Of course we get Thunder Wave by the Magneton, but it goes down in 2 hits and we've still got 350 HP. Haunter comes out, he uses Mean Look, which is the best move he could have used, and it's taken down. Next is the Kadabra. It will still set up Future Sight because it's faster than us and we're paralysed. But we've got 309 HP going into the Typhlosion, and I feel a lot more confident about this run. And then he starts using Smokescreen, which means our accuracy goes down. We don't hit him consistently every turn, and he continually chips away at our HP with Flame Wheel. It takes us quite a few attempts before we even get to that last struggle to hit, but when we do, we've beaten Rival and we can move on to the Elite Four. Now the Elite Four is an interesting bunch for Wobbuffet. Because we're a Psychic type Pokemon, we can resist all the powerful Psychic type moves that will come with Will. And I debated on pretty much every Elite Four member what strategy I should go for. Should I go for the Counter Miracle or should I go for Struggle? And 9 times out of 10 Struggle was the better play to be using. With level 78 going into Will, we are probably one of the highest levels we've had to be in solo runs in Johto just to get to the Elite Four. And the annoying thing about Will and most of the Elite Four really is they keep using their max potions at the worst times. Jinx is going to go down to 1 Struggle. It's quite defensively weak, and that just leaves 2 Pokemon and a decent amount of HP to work with. Executor is quite defensively bulky as well, and that means that it's going to take quite a few hits to take down. Slowbro, again, it's defensively bulky. It's going to take quite a few hits to take down. What we're hoping for is for that Reflector Fade and for Struggle to start getting a crit. Thankfully, he doesn't have another potion, so we can take it down. This is probably attempt number 7 on Will, and it's the reason why we had to be level 79 to do it. Koga, on the other hand, is again very, very annoying. And it comes down to those status effects. Because we're a Pokemon that needs to stall out a battle to actually win, we can't one-shot anything really. Even though we're nearly twice the level of the Ariados, we can't even do half damage to it. Fortress is defensively very, very strong, and it uses Protect a lot. What I was hoping for was it would just use Explosion to take itself out, but it doesn't use it in this battle, and Struggle takes it out in enough hits. So Crobat is next, and what we don't want to happen is to be toxic, which we eventually do, and it's badly poisoned as well. So when the difference between a normal poison and a badly poison badly poison damage accumulates over time. So each turn you get hit by the poison damage, it does more and more each time. Like when we first got hit by poison, it was doing about 30, now it's doing about 70, 80. And we needed to get that crit against the Venomoth, otherwise we'll have lost that attempt. But we beat Koga, and that was probably attempt number 12. Who took even longer though was Bruno. And you would have thought, considering we're a Psychic type, we probably wouldn't struggle too much with Bruno, but yeah, we struggled quite a lot with Bruno. It took us to level 85 before we managed to two-shot some of his Pokemon, and the most annoying Pokemon in his entire arsenal actually was this Onix, which I don't think I've really ever struggled against an Onix before, unless it's Gen 1 Brock. But because he sets up Sandstorm and is doing loads of damage every single turn, we're losing so much HP over time. And we just can't do enough to keep our HP up, to get through these Pokemon in one hit, even though we don't take too much damage from the Hitmonchan. But last up is the Machamp. We get hit by a Cross Chop, we're struggling. Struggle does enough damage, and then he uses Max Potion, and it's going to be a free hit KO to take out this Machamp. He uses Rock Slide, and thankfully we hang on with 8 HP at level 85. I did debate whether I should show you every single attempt or some attempts against the Elite Four, but because I was going against him upwards of like 7, 8 to maybe 20 times, I didn't want to make you sit through all of that when pretty much the only viable strategy I could use was using Struggle. Karen, I had to go up to level 91 to beat her. Her Dark type moves are super effective against us, so it means that we're already at a disadvantage just on type alone. Crunch from the Houndoom does big damage, but we do take it down in 2 struggles. It is quite defensively weak from what I've found. Gengar, as long as it didn't use Curse, we were going to be fine, but of course it uses Curse, takes itself out, and now with the last Pokemon we're against the clock. The worst thing that could happen here would be that we stall out enough turns that Curse takes us down. Thankfully, Stun Spore doesn't hit, and at level 91 we get our first win against Karen. But we're at the final point of the Johto League, and we had to go all the way to level 100 to even have a chance of winning against Lance with a Wobbuffet. I tried this with both Counter and Mirror Coat strats, I tried it with Struggle strats, and still, even at this late stage, Struggle is the best play to be making. The Dragonites go down to either 2 or 3 hits from Struggle, and that's only the level 47, so the level 50 is going to be even more tedious. And honestly, the best move you can hope that they use on you is going to be Hyper Beam. Because it only does around about 30 damage because of our big bulk, and we get a clutch crit against the Pterodactyl here, which takes it out in 1. When they use Hyper Beam, they have to recharge the next turn, so it actually gives us a chance to get more hits in and not take enough damage. Getting that Charizard down probably took the most out of us, but we're left on the last Dragonite, and it's going to take 3 hits to take down him. Outrage is doing big damage, and we managed to tank it and take it down when we've only got 55 HP left. This was the only attempt that I managed to beat Lance at. It took us so long to get to this stage, but we finally did it. We beat the Elite Four with a Wobbuffet, but it did take us to level 100. And I don't think we've had another run yet where that has been the case. Maybe Tyrogue, were we level 100? No, even at Tyrogue, level 90 was where we were at. So this is the only Pokemon that we've had to be level 100 to beat the Elite Four on, but it is possible to beat the Elite Four with a Wobbuffet. It's a big struggle, and the time does reflect that, but that's as much as we could really hope for. So now we've beaten the Elite Four, let's check that time. Let's see the awful time that I've got for this. 11 hours and 13 in-game minutes to get to this stage. In real time, because I'm doing this at double time, that took us over 5.5 hours to get to this stage in real time. And that just shows how bad this Wobbuffet really is. I kept resetting to get the best EVs for it, and even at that stage, that's how it went. But of course, we have the Kanto region to go next, and the best that we could really do, unfortunately, we couldn't even get to red. I got walled completely at blue, and it didn't matter whether I used Counter or Mirror Coat. we actually could not beat blue, and my reset counter tipped over 3 digits. So even though I'm going to show you both attempts here where I'm using both the counter mirror coat strats or the struggle strats, you'll see that I eventually got to a point where I gave up, and I deemed Wobbuffet impossible to solo the entire game with. It can beat the Elite Four, but we don't even get a chance to go against red and see how we can do against him. Blue completely walled us here. When we're using the mirror coat strats, it's so hard to kind of plan when they're going to be using their moves. The Alakazam uses a lot of recovers, and it just becomes such a slog. This is how bad Wobbuffet was, okay? In all of those attempts that took us into triple digits against blue, I did not want to see the Arcanine or execute. I got walled by the Rhydon, I got walled by the Gyarados. It was painful, but this is as much as we could do. Even with perfect EVs, I couldn't do it. Counter didn't do enough. Gyarados, it used both Twister, which flinched, Hyper Beam, where you can counter. And then when it's used Hyper Beam, you can't hit the next turn. It just turned into an awful, awful time. And then he used Full Restore, of course, he used Full Restore. So this here is the attempt where we only use Struggle. And you might think, oh yeah, we're doing better against the Pidgeot. We're going to do better against the Alakazam because it's defensively weak as well. This all gets walled when it comes to Rhydon because of its massive defense. Yes, Struggle is a typeless move, but Rhydon has got ridiculous defenses. Or at least physical defense. And that's how much we're doing. We do have a Reflect set up, so we aren't doing as much as we normally will be, but he also sets up Sandstorm, which takes off our HP gradually over time. Doesn't hit the Rhydon as well. Doesn't hit ground-type Pokemon. So when Reflect actually goes down, we do deal more damage, but yeah, we never really got any much further. So I am actually officially claiming this is our first impossible run for Johto, and that is with a Wobbuffet. So at level 100 we couldn't even get past blue, and we got up to this stage at 12 hours and 37 in-game minutes. That's over 6 hours worth of my life that I have done this on this run, just to prove that I think it's impossible. I think there's YouTubers who have done it, but personally, I was not willing to sit through another 100 attempts to get to that stage and figure it out. So with that, we need to figure out what Pokemon is going to be on the wheel the next week. Let's spin that wheel and let's see what comes up. Because we've just done Wobbuffet, I want an easier run. I'm hoping we get the choices this time. So first up we have, let's spin that wheel, Girafarig. Oh, you know what, I want to try that Girafarig run. Will it be the easiest choice though? Porygon 2. Wow, we're getting really good Pokemon here. Oh, I don't know what to choose. What's third? A third is Slowking. Okay, considering I've not done anything from the Slowpoke run yet, I'm going to go for Slowking here. I want to see how we do. So yeah, we'll see. We'll do Slowking next time. We'll see you next week. If you haven't already, guys, please smash that like and subscribe button, you legends. It really does help out the channel. I really want to see those numbers grow, but can't do that without your support. So we'll see you next week with Slowking. Take care now.